have to give them to, turn them into Karen Barnes.
The committee will come to order. Commissioners, staff, and guests, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Rick Moore, Berry County Parks Commission. I just wish to remind commissioners and guests to speak into the microphone or use your outdoor voice. Everyone back here has come here out of their own expense, and we really like to hear what you have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Is there any other limited public comment? All right. Here to present our first item this morning is Mr. Kirsch. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $10,000 from the Animal Shelter Donation Fund for TNR, Trap, Neuter, and Release.
Support.
Moved by Parker, support by Smelker. The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning. I'll use my outdoor voice, I guess. And yeah, so what I'm looking for is, we're at the end of the year, and we just used a 270 grant. I came in front of you guys, I think, a couple of weeks ago to use a 270 grant, which we usually use for TNR for air conditioning and heating in the drop-off kennels and in the cattery, which is being installed today. It'll be turned on today, so we're super excited about that. And we want to continue. This is a big season, right, time of the year for cats, giving birth, spring, and then, of course, in October. So I'd like to use $10,000 out of our donation fund. We have currently in that fund $271,641.60. I also have $3,000 left over from Bissell. The restriction with that $3,000 from Bissell for TNR is I can only spend $25 per animal out of that $3,000. So if I take the $3,000 I have from Bissell at the $25 a pop and add the $10,000, we can do another 151 feral or barn cats in the county before the end of the year.
Any questions for Ken? All righty. So the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $10,000 from the Animal Shelter Donation Fund for TNR. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Thank you, sir. Next on our agenda is Carrie Selleck. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 grant contract between the State of Michigan and Berry County for the continuation of indigent defense services in Berry County.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gibson, support by Smelker. The floor is yours.
Good morning. So we did initially submit our proposed budget for 2021 in March to MIDC just before COVID, and then COVID changed everything. So we were able to resubmit it. It does include the assistant public defender position and the corrections officer position, which the jail is very excited about. I'm very excited about. I'm very excited to have another attorney in our office. So we're moving forward with that. It also does include the construction funds from last year's 2020 budget that we were not able to use. So that is in this year's budget. So hopefully there'll be no more barriers to getting our office built. It's a great budget. It gets us everything that we needed and that we requested for less funds, but it still gives us everything, so we're excited about it, so we would hope that you would approve it. And the lucky thing is they're very on top of it this year. The second
state,
MIDC
really?
approved our budget, we were allowed to spend under that budget, and I was surprised at how quickly the grant contract came in. The terms are exactly the same, the only difference is the actual balance.
Any questions for Carrie? Are there changes coming to how you contract with your attorneys in the future?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Thanks. Any other discussion? Hearing none. The question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 grant contract between the State of Michigan and Berry County for the continuation of indigent defense services in Berry County. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Thank you, ma'am. Next on our agenda is Drain Commissioner Dahl. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $5,000 to update the Drain Commissioner's rules, procedures, design criteria for stormwater management systems, with funds to be transferred from the general fund contingency to the Drain Commissioner budget.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Jackson, support by Gibson. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Is this on?
Mm-hmm.
Is it working? When I came into office, we had a discussion 4 years ago with two different engineering firms about our rules and regulations for controlling stormwater in developments. And they both said the rules were outdated. Brian Sensi from, at that time, ENG, now with GEI, and Dan Fredericks from LRE. They both give us the same feedback. So we started at that point to start getting the rules and regulations updated. The Public Act 288, I give you a copy of this from 1968, I believe it is, that says Public Acts of Michigan 1967 says that we're basically supposed to review drainage for any subdivisions and all that good stuff. And the rules, of course, that have been in place since, well, Bob Schaefer put them in '92, have changed quite a bit. So we asked ENG, Ryan McHill from ENG, to give us a price on updating this. He came back at no more than $5,000 to update the rules and get them more in line with what our situation is now. And I had one commissioner contact me and asked if we could take it out of our budget. So I give you a copy of our budget, which basically there's not much of any room to take anything out of here to pay for this. The only thing we looked at was service contracts, and Tammy said that's to keep all our other updated things going per year. That would be the only thing I can see here that we don't end up, wasn't specific, that I didn't understand. But that's like the BSNA to do our maintenance updates and all the other ones. So basically we don't have anything in the budget to work with. So we're asking you guys if you can pick up that bill for up to $5,000 to get these updated. It is, according to Bob, it was 1992, approved by the Board of the Commissioners on September 8th that we follow the state mandated rules. So, any questions?
Any questions for Jim?
What's left in our contingency for this year?
Your mic's not on. There you go.
There you go. I said, is this coming out of this year's contingency, and what's left in it?
We're hoping to have these done by the end of the year, so
Okay.
that would be more of a Michael question.
Yep, he's looking.
Okay.
Yeah, so it comes out of this year's contingency right now, the contingency is $62,295.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jim or for Michael? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $5,000 to update the Drain Commissioner's rules, procedures, and design criteria for stormwater management systems, with funds to be transferred from the general fund contingency to the Drain Commissioner budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thanks, kids. Oh, by the way, thanks for having in-person meetings. We love it.
The next item on our agenda is Luella and Stephanie Lehman with the proposed 2021 Berry County Health Plans. At this time, the chair would entertain motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 proposed Berry County health plans for Berry County employees as recommended by the Berry County Healthcare Cost Containment Committee.
Second.
Moved by Smelker, support by Parker. The floor is yours, ladies.
Okay, so I have Stephanie Lehman with me today, and she's on the Healthcare Cost Containment Committee committee that meets every year to look at the current health plans, to look at the renewal rates, and make a recommendation to the board about which plans we want for the next year for employees. The committee had one meeting this year, and the renewal rates, the increase was pretty reasonable, so the committee didn't see any reason at this point to change the plans. We have pretty good utilization in all of the plans, so I guess we would entertain any questions, and I'll let Stephanie say anything she wants to comment.
You had to move that real close to you, otherwise it doesn't pick you up well.
Can you hear me now? I think that this is probably my 10th or 11th year sitting on this committee, and these rates are some of the lowest that we've ever seen. In previous years, we have seen rates where they've doubled or more than doubled. I feel that we've done a pretty good job of going back and forth between the Blue Care products and the Priority Health products. We knew last year, and we entered into the contract, or we made the recommendation to enter into the contract to go back to the Blue Care products, that there would be no more than a 7.9% increase for our 2021 renewal. That was a part of the negotiations that we did with Blue Cross last year, and they were significantly lower than that. Now, obviously, COVID-19, like everything, has impacted utilization of healthcare, and so after the 2021 year, when we're moving into the 2022 renewal, I think that it will be interesting to see if that continued to impact. It was a little bit surprising to the committee that it actually impacted us in the positive for renewal rates.
Any questions for Stephanie or Luella?
Was there any change in coverage at all? Nothing, huh?
All four plans remain the same.
Deductibles and everything that way? Great.
Yeah, and you'll notice there are a couple of plans where the employee contribution will actually be less next year than it is this year. So that never happens.
So for like the bottom one, the HMO HSA plan, is that a payment then to the employee in that annual contribution?
Yes, so if you look on the first attachment behind the agenda request form, if you look at that third column from the right where it shows the annual employer contribution, anything in parentheses means that that's the annualized amount that the county will actually put in to your savings account. Now it's put in there on a monthly basis, which is the far column to the right.
And then you can contribute to that as
Yes.
well. So
Yes,
if
that's highly encouraged, especially with a high deductible plan like that. The
Right.
employees put some of their own money into so they can build up a good bank account to cover their deductible.
But there are limitations to that.
Oh,
Commissioner
I
Wynn, yeah.
understand. I've just have never seen one that is set up like that before, so it was kind of interesting. Any other questions for Stephanie or Luella? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay. The question before the committee then is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 proposed Berry County health plans for the Berry County employees as recommended by the Berry County Healthcare Cost Containment Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Man, we never have meetings this quick on cow
Ben's
meetings.
fault.
Okay, we'll blame it on Ben. I'm good with that. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Jim McManus, Jennifer Heinzman, and Chelsea Foster to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a 3-year term beginning January 1, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2023.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Jackson, support by Gibson. Discussion. Now, Michael called me yesterday. We do not typically front load our appointments for new commissions. Dan and I will be leaving, and I don't want to set a bad precedence where we're making appointments for next year's board, because next year's board will have a different makeup. It'll have a different chair. This kind of escaped my radar, and so if you would like to set it aside until January, we can do that. It was the same people were being recommended or had applied to be reappointed. There were no other applicants for the positions, and that's just trying to get busy work done before the end of the year, and it just slipped right through my radar. So it is really the board's pleasure on how to proceed with this.
Both Jim McManus and Chelsea Foster have been longstanding members on the Brownfield since they reinstituted that committee. Obviously, Jennifer's leading the chamber in the EDA, so all three of those candidates are qualified, knowledgeable, and we're involved in that Brownfield grant right now we're working through, so I would recommend that we continue with their appointments, that they are the best 3 qualified candidates and the only candidates at this point. So,
Dan?
Yeah, I think if you can have some history there, that's really important to have that for guidance. And so I agree with David on that.
I just didn't want to act on behalf of a future board. So
Yep.
And you do have a note in your board rules, you do have a section that talks about biennial board and commission appointments. So those that occur when there's a transition, that unless otherwise prohibited by law, all non-commissioner appointments to boards and commissions where a term has expired or a vacancy exists shall be interviewed and appointed by the newly elected Board of Commissioners. So what we have done in the past is invited the new commissioners to participate in the interviews, and so that there's not a lag, you will interview folks and during this term allow the new commissioners to have some input, and then get things set so that when the new year starts, they can be ratified, if you may, by the new board, and it does give that board then, those commissioners, an opportunity, if they want to have a vote and oppose it, to do that. But we haven't traditionally made the actual appointments until the new year exists and the new board is seated. So, again, our apologies, that one kind of slipped by and got
It
on
did.
the agenda. So,
Pam's just way too efficient on getting this stuff done ahead of time.
what I might suggest is that you take
Jim.
action today to recommend them, and then that wait until
December sometime to,
the beginning of the year.
that works too.
So we will keep track of all of those, and then at the first meeting, it could even occur. The first meeting will be right away. We can get that taken care of. We've also, you, I should say, have also set that appointments that will continue until replaced. So the board, the Brownfield Redevelopment Board, if they have some action that needs to be taken, say January 3rd, they still can do that. They still are authorized to act, as are all other boards, until their successor is appointed. So it should not delay anything, other than it just delays that individual actually being appointed. And I get to some that's a can be a concern that they'd like to know that they're appointed and be in the spot, but we have had over the years a situation where a new board, this board, for example, appointed somebody, the new board came on and didn't want that appointment and created some difficulty.
It'd be like the president appointing the next cabinet for the new president, and I totally get it, and I should have thought about it before we got it on the agenda. But we can approve it, we can recommend it, and then have it sit. It doesn't have to be on items for consideration for next week. It can be, be there until January. Or if the new board decides they don't want to do it and they want to interview new people and repost it, it'll be up to the new board. So the question before the committee then is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Jim McManus, Jennifer Heinzman, and Chelsea Foster to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 3-year term beginning January 1, 2021 and ending December 31, 2023. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. And that just kind of sits in limbo until the board acts on it, which is perfectly fine. At this time, as limited public comment, any member of the public wishing to address a committee may do so for up to 3 minutes. Is there any other business to come before the committee? There being no further business and without objection, the committee is